Well, hello there. Peace, everybody. My name is Brenda Williams. I'm a womanist, cultural strategist, and convener, founder of Culture Shifters Unite, the Brenda Williams Show, and Soul of a Lead Her, the podcast for she who lives and works from the soul. And I'm here on this wonderful Wednesday to share a deeper soft power teaching from our Sunday Substack. And I made a post about this on Monday, but I wanted to talk more about alignment versus performance. And the word alignment does get tossed around a lot. We're hearing a lot about alignment and intentionality and purpose. And all of that is wonderful and that is great. But we have to really peel back some layers and understand what is that really calling forward in us. And so I want to center that we've been, as a culture, conditioned to value performance. I mean, we look at associations, and this is no tea, no shade to people who are in sports, but sports is big business. Performance and athleticism, not only in terms of the salary, right? Annual salary from sports organizations. We're even talking about endorsements and endorsements now, even now for high school students. And so when our whole identity is really rooted and grounded in what we can do, how we perform, our output, when that's taken away from something said like an injury, a torn rotary cuff, something that can put you out of the game per se, never mind the loss of income, but also the loss of identity if we've been solely conditioned that our value, our worth is all predicated on what we can produce. The same goes for our leadership. Who are we without our position, without our authority, without our title, without our power, right? And the way that we rise, you've said it in evaluation meetings, your performance, the metrics are all on productivity. And while productivity is not inherently an evil, it's not a moral indictment. What are the ways and what's the real cost? What is the real and true cost of being productive? So when we have that kind of conditioning, performance is going to ask inevitably, does it work? But alignment is going to ask us a different question. Does it feel true? Now, I'm going to advocate both and, because part of my uh, culture lead her coherence model talks about just that, being in coherence. So that's head and heart. We want our heads and our hearts to be in alignment. And so you can perform well and still be disconnected, because how many times do we perform sick? Through grief, through an injury. We persevere. We hunker down. We move through the pain and not listen to our bodies, because our pain gives us an indicator of where we need to turn our attention. And grief also deeply reminds us that we loved something deeply. And so, performance, again, in its disconnected state, many high capacity people are praised for their functionality, even in misalignment. So, even when perhaps your heart is no longer in the work, or the conditions around you are not conducive to the fullness of your humanity, it doesn't have capacity for it. And in many spaces, I mean, we can even just look at the decor. There's nothing there that feels inherently human. And so, burnout is often not about the workload itself, but it's about abandonment, neglecting ourselves, and maybe in some cases, for lack of a better word, a disassociation. Alignment lives in the body. So the tightness, right, in the chest, heart, grief is carried in the lungs and in the hips. Resistance can be in the upper shoulders, also in the lower back, but also clarity right? Because that also feels expansive. When we're clear, we feel an expansiveness, and it can happen right here in the heart area. When we're clear, an ease, an easefulness where the mind can rest, right? So if your body is constantly saying no, but your life requires a yes, that is an indicator of misalignment. So soft power leadership asks this: can your life hold your leadership? So a practical reframe, instead of, asking the question, how do I get through this? Right? Because many of us find ourselves in a project or a scenario, or with a client, right? Or an event. How do I get through this? We just want to get to the end. But ask, what would it look like if I didn't abandon myself in this process? So as I close, I definitely want you to consider this, move through this, and see how it feels in your body. If this resonates, I explore more of these ideas more deeply in my Substack, and then in the work I do when I come into leadership spaces. So if you are looking for someone to come in as a cultural strategist beyond the traditional strategic planning and move into a seasonality, moving into a rhythm, looking at the natural flow and life cycles that individuals are in, that's how we build sustainable models of business. That's how we look at how our lives can, this form of leadership, can it be held in my life, right? So if this resonates with you, please reach out to me. I'd love to come into your organization. Or if you're looking for a speaker, I speak to this deeply. And I would love to come in and speak to your organization about how we build not just a better framework, but how do we really look at leadership, and can this leadership inhabit my life, the true fullness of my life? All right, you all. My name is My name is. My name is Brenda Williams. I'm a womanist cultural strategist and convener, host and founder of Culture Shifters Unite, host of the podcast Soul of a Lead Her, which is now in its third season. So you can check out the trailer. You can listen to it wherever you listen to your podcast. We're on Apple, I believe Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen to your podcast, we're there. And you can listen to this most current season. The trailer just dropped, and everything is in this is leadership, yes, but through the lenses of art, beauty, and culture. All right, until next time, good humans, be good to yourselves, listen to your body, and what is the body saying to me? What would it look like if I didn't abandon myself in the process? Let that be your question of the week. And I can guarantee you that spirit will meet you right where you are when you ask the right questions. All right, good humans, bye for now. Check out my Substack, and I'll be back next week. Bye.